GSL studio. It's time for some more Code A action here at the World Championship Series Korea, the Challenger League. I am Wolf, with me is Calder. Welcome to the evening session.
We have our first game coming up. It's once again a Protoss versus Zerg. We have Swagger, aka Killer. He is up against Leenock. Very difficult match for the Protoss player.
Yeah, I mean, the guy may have a weird ID, but you got to admit, to be able to make it this far, he's got some swag.
Yeah, he took down Junie, and now he's up against the Octopus, but it is a little bit... I'm very curious to see if he can swagger his way into the third round.
Yeah, you know, he's got this a certain level of swag that can get him a lot of attention and sometimes can push him through some of the matches, but he's up against one of the best players in the entire world, someone who's looking dominant, especially in this matchup in particular.
To be fair though, we have Killer, aka Swagger, already in the second round of Code A, so the worst is already in the past. He passed the first round of Code A, which is like the danger days where you can still drop down to Code B. If Killer loses here, then at least next season he will be in Code A.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And he can maybe even still get to Code S if he does really well in his up and down matches.
We're having a quick look at the match results from our earlier session. The ESF players struggled quite a bit against their Casper opponents, as you can see on screen.
Yep, Hayaba taken out first 2-1. Trap was able to take out Curious 2-0. Younghwa really having some trouble against Rain, and then in the final series, Yu-Gi-Oh! Just wasn't quite able to hold off the final push.
A very close series between the Root Gaming, Zerg, and the SK Telecom Paralyzed player, but in the end, Paralyzed takes the series, advances to the third round.
Yep, and all these players here are not falling out of Code A either, so it's not just the players we're talking about now, but the players this earlier session as well.
Here you can see the next 4 matches of the day. We have Swagger versus Leenock, our opening match. Fantasy then has to deal with Avenge.
And then you have Supernova, the former OGS player, former MTW player, joined Azubu, up against DRG, the final boss. And last but not least, probably the highlight match of the night, at least for us, it is Marine King versus Jangbi.
And the winner of Marine King versus Jangbi will have to face live in the third round. So a very interesting bracket that we have there.
Swagger, look at his results. He has 25 wins and 39 losses. He has played so many televised matches, but he's still not even hovering or near 50%. He's had a rough time. He started out really strong in his career right when he first switched over to Starcraft 2 using the ID Songa, then using the ID TSL Baby Bye Bye. But in recent times, he has not been as dominant. He's taken more of a coaching role at MVP.
Yeah. Leenock, on the other hand, this guy, one of the strongest Zergs in the entire world, just came off a win at DreamHack, and he wants to go all the way back to Code S.
He brought a lot of Epic So buddies with him today. He's got a lot of support at the studio. Not that he really needs it for this particular match. I think he's very confident going into this one.
Yeah, I brought some muscle too.
Yeah, definitely so.
It becomes like a new trend in the backstage area to challenge me to arm wrestling.
People just really like to lose to you, man. I don't know. They're really into it.
I don't even know who that guy was, but he really I mean, he knew something about rules and stuff and like certain distances that you had to keep, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, he was very serious about the arm wrestling match with you, but you crushed him. I saw it.
Well, I'm not really a good arm wrestle guy, but, well,
yeah. You got the arms for it, that's for sure.
Well, we're heading into the game, and let's see who has it in to take this round. Is it going to be Swagger? Is it going to be Leenock? This is the GSL Code A with Colin Wolf. The man with the swag starts at the bottom left of the map. In blue, the Protoss player for Team MVP. It is, of course,
MVP Swagger.
Was known as Killer for a long time. The AKA, as mentioned earlier, Baby Bye Bye.
I'm sure he named himself after the Pokemon move Swagger, for sure.
Definitely. Top right, cross positioned, we have the one and only Leenock. Starting for Team FXO is...
FXO, Leenock.
DreamHack champion. Double MLG champion.
Comes from Code S here. Swagger, by the way, defeated Junie in the first round, another Zerg player, so he is also... experienced in this matchup in the recent past, was playing the same matchup in his first round, now also in the second round.
Yeah.
The winner of this best of 3 series has to face a Terran player, since Maru is facing Byung in the other side of the bracket.
And don't confuse Junie with Junwei.
Yeah.
Different players. Junwei, the former teammate of all the OGS guys.
One thing is pretty interesting to note about Leenock, by the way. He is one of 5 players amongst MVP, Marine King, MC, and NST, who played not only the first GSL Wings of Liberty Code S season, but also the last Wings of Liberty Code S season.
Yeah.
So only 5 of them were able to achieve it. Leenock being one of them.
Well, Leenock does go pool first here. Not pull anything fancy. We did see a lot of cannoning in our last series.
Oh, yeah. Paralyze was certainly very trigger happy when it came down to the cannon rush.
Swagger will be able to deny Leenock's hatchery for a really long time. Can even put a pylon block down if he wants to be extreme, which is pretty good on this map. Oh, does not get it off though.
Yeah, that was well done by Leenock. Gets the expansion up now, and on the other hand, we have Swagger not only with the Nexus first, but then starting with his Forge play here. With the cross position that we have on this map, this is of course a position where pushes take ages to arrive via opponent's base, so probably more of a late game scenario.
Yeah. Swagger is a player who's known for his really strong 2-base timings though, even with Immortals and sometimes with Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's something that he could do. But you know, he played in the series against Juni a very well-rounded style, I want to say. So I guess that he's probably going to do the same thing against Leenock, but it's going to be very difficult. I mean, everyone who watched the final of DreamHack where Leenock had to face Naniwa in the same matchup knows that the Leenock is in his element here.
Yeah, he's very versatile and even able to deal with some very new and unusual strategies against Naniwa, handling them pretty well. I think that Swagger is probably going to try on Whirlwind to play a pretty straight-up game, especially since we're at cross positions. But if he struggles here in the next 2 games, potentially I think he's going to be more aggressive and not want to say all in, but you know, much less willing to play a late game against the master of late game, Leenock.
Leenock knows now where his opponent spawned, so he just had the Ling at the bottom left being taken out by the cannon, and therefore he knows that it is cross position already, which will allow him to play a little bit more economy based, a bit more greedy. Going into the extra drones now, and on the other hand, of course, Swagger just now starting things up with his tech. And we could see either Robo or Stargate here. A lot of Protoss players will still go into the Stargate opening, but usually we see a 3rd base instead of just a 2-base timing.
Yeah, especially on this map, in cross positions, because Leenock is just so far away, it takes forever for Killer to walk across in this case. He checks very carefully to see if there's a 3rd base. He hasn't seen one just yet.
It's a very delayed 3rd base that we see, and as expected, we have the Stargate opening here for Swagger.
There it is.
Yeah, and Leenock doesn't get another hatch. He's still on 2 bases. He's droning up like a madman, investing the first 100 gas that he has into the speed upgrade, adding the 2nd simulator right now.
Yeah,
extractor.
He's mining gas still very heavily on 2-base. I would be interested to see a lair start right as soon as that 100 gas goes and go into Swarm House. He has the 100 now.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if he's really going to go into Swarm Host right away on a map like this. With the 2-base style that he's currently executing, I kind of doubt it a little bit. We have him with the double evolution chamber now, so he can start with his upgrades.
Yeah,
but I guess
it just starts to look more like now he wants to go into the Ultralisk style with Lings.
if you go for a 2-base timing with Swarm Host, you usually also build Nidus Network, but the timings for him are definitely off here. He would have started at the lair a long time ago. Usually when you go into a timing on 2-base with Swarm Host, you want to do this before you want to do the lair tech before you start with your speed upgrade. And as we now have the double evolution chambers being used, this is definitely not going to be the case here.
Yeah, it looks more likely he's going to go heavy Ling into quicker hive tech. Robotics now on the way for Swagger, who will continue to clean up overlords with his Phoenixes. There's very few left to kill. There's one at the bottom right, but I don't think he's going to find that one. Well, he's heading in the right direction.
3rd base now at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Very Ling heavy upgrade style that we have here. And this, of course, puts him in a position where he can forego the Roach Warren. It's something that we see occasionally. It's very important to get the armor upgrade out as fast as possible if you go for this style, so that you can counter against a +1 attack upgrade of the Protoss player. You need to have it so that you can make your Lings a little bit more effective against zealots.
Definitely so. And Swagger actually found an Overlord. Impressive. He is totally Overlord free on this map. He's cleaned them all up.
Yeah. I think the reason why I expected the Overlord to be there is that usually as a Zerg player you send the 2 Overlords out into opposite directions on the map. So one to the top left in this scenario and one to the bottom right. And he saw one already coming in, so he expected one Overlord to hover at the bottom right position, and therefore the scouting path of the Phoenixes.
And sometimes that same Overlord ends up becoming an Overseer to scout the tech in the mid-game. So, Swagger totally in the know here. He sees the late 3rd, he sees the lair. He also knows, you know, that he's cleaned up all the Overlords, so he can feel very comfortable here. He just has to play a little bit defensively now, and he sees the Overlord.
Takes the Overlord out, and we have the Infestation Pit started right away. This is this Queen Ultralisk style that we saw a long time ago already in the qualifier by players like Lucky. So Lucky probably taking a strategy from Leenock and executing it here. We've seen it also in the GSTL several times. 4 queens so far, not too many. And the Zerglings here might actually be able to take out... Nah, not quite.
Yeah, with an Nexus cannon, it's very difficult, but...
And Jesus, that thing is loud.
Yeah, it's really loud. It's scary. It sounds scarier than it really is. The Mothership Core itself. It's one of the loudest attack animations in the entire game, but does the least damage per decibel. And Queen gets picked off over here. That's a big oversight by Leenock keeping him too far. He's going to lose several of his drones. You know, it's just a transfer. Nothing you can do much about that.
Yeah, Protoss is just a show-off race in general. I mean, look at the Tempest attack animation, for example, and also at the sound. It's always such a big bang.
I heard that if you're like over 40 years old, you can't hear the Tempest charge up animation sound.
Oh wow, you mean actually that soon enough I won't even know it when they attack me?
You won't be able to hear them charging, you know that high squealing noise when they're charging up?
So now I have to watch the minimap to see the blinking? That's gonna ruin Starcraft for me.
You gotta be careful, man.
As you can already see, we have now the Hive Tech immediately being started by Leenock once the infestation bit is done. So he's heading into the Ultralisk composition that we talked about a little bit earlier. We have +2/+2 already started, and as you can see, the extra queens are being added. Ultralisks are awesome when you work with queens. This is also one of the reasons why we have now this creep spread by Leenock, is trying to push it across the map so that he can use his queens for the diffusers. And that was an oversight right there.
Yeah, he didn't have the passaging glands. And the investor's just not having enough energy there to get a fungal. So that was a bit unfortunate. He's going to get another one too. Yeah. All 3 of them dead.
Loses 3 overseers here. That is not a good start.
Let me just say one thing. Like, the unit's lost tab right now is 1 probe died for Swagger. That's it. Leenock has lost 2,250 resources in total. Okay, now it's 300 with that Phoenix dying, but still, he's being very, very efficient.
Yep. No, that's definitely true. The only thing is that so far, Leenock has a very clear style. He completed his Hive Tech. We will see the Ultra's Cavern in a second. There it is. The 4th base is now coming up. And it's all about the engagements from now on. Swagger is doing a really decent job with his macro. I mean, the guy is now on 3 bases taking his 4th as Leenock takes his own 4th base. So in terms of economy, Swagger is in a great position here.
He's
look at this production tab for Leenock.
Yeah, he's researching basically everything. Adrenal glands, getting the Overlord drops, 2/2. But as you said, you know, the macro of Swagger is really good. He's been relatively left alone, minus that 1 Ling run by that we saw. And so this gives him some opportunities, but he will actually probably have to cancel this. No, the Colossi are close enough.
Yeah, that's a few Zerglings run in there to occupy the Protoss player. Bit of a detour here, trying to maybe hit the 3rd base again. Another set of Lings is already on its way. Adrenal Glands has been started. Now that 2/2 is done, the 3rd wave of upgrades is also being started.
Killer is just not afraid to use that Nexus cannon. He just drops it down instantly. Oh, that wall's not going to last, though. He will be able to push us back with the Colossi, but barely doesn't get the pylon.
Yeah. The Ultralisks are being built now. Upgrades are on the way. We even have drop coming in.
He's getting double Immortal production already. Killer is prepared for this. So it's all going to be about the engagements, because just having Immortals alone doesn't necessarily win you the fight. It's all about where you fight it. You know, if you fight in a choke point, obviously that's not what Leenock wants to do.
And so far, Killer is playing a very, very solid game here. He's just a tiny little bit behind in overall supply, but he has the better bank at this point. He's getting his own upgrades out. Is a bit behind. But still, I have to say that this is looking very solid for Killer. These drops, on the other hand, they are going to be scary.
I'm a little bit excited for these drops. We don't see stuff like this all too often in this matchup. Occasionally you do see it. It's always somebody like Leenock who does a drop like this and can really, really mess with your build as a Pross when you're trying to get into that late game composition.
We are going into the multitasking right now. Here comes the drop play into the main base. At the same time, Leenock is moving in at the front, occupying his opponent. But Swagger with a warp in right away as soon as the pylon spots those overlords.
Yeah, he's got just such a great defense setup against his composition. He has walls everywhere. He knows he's facing mostly melee units, so walls are exactly what he needs. And this is actually not a good place for Leenock to be right now. He does not have enough army here.
He has not enough Ultralisks either. This is not looking good for Leenock, not at all. Swagger is far ahead in overall supply.
He is rushing Leenock right now. The Immortals can basically one-shot those Ultralisks, and these Queens are now off creep.
The Queens are like, run, run, and they're like, wait, what, run?
I think this is actually game over.
It looks really it looks completely like Leenock will not be able to take this game. I mean, at this point, we have a 70 supply lead for Swagger. He's moving in. He has the upgrades. There's not a lot that Leenock has. Swagger could move in, and he's getting all his Zealots. He's getting all his Immortals. He's moving in for the kill.
He's getting the Warp Prism charges on the way. I think I've never seen a more cost-efficient game that goes this long. Right now, resources lost 8,725 for Leenock versus 1,350 for Swagger. He's lost almost nothing this game. He's been extremely cost-efficient. Even his Phoenixes, as you can see, are still alive here.
There are 6 Immortals. We have a lot of Colossi as well. Leenock cannot win with this unit composition.
It's like Swagger knew exactly from the beginning that he was going to be facing this already made Immortals and just read Leenock's style like a book and was just one step ahead of him here.
There's no way with this unit composition to win against the army of Swagger. That just doesn't work.
Absolutely not. Especially not without Vipers, you know. GG.
Ouch.
This is a bit of an upset already here going into this. Swagger takes game 1. Not only did he take it, but he pretty much owned it. That was very, very well done by Swagger. He defended every run-by, every single one. Not a single one of those run-bys really had him going. Leenock kept sending the Lings in different bases, but he had a wall everywhere. He was not afraid to use his Photon Overcharge. He had Photon Cannons walled around his third. He had a second wall at his fourth base.
That was just absolutely solid by Swagger. The job in the main base didn't do a thing since he warped in Zealots immediately when he saw the Overlords. Leenock moving out on the map with a with a force that was way too small. Swagger being on 4 bases without a problem at all. Good defense against the run-bys. That was a very solid play, and Leenock did not look all that good in that game.
Yeah, he just couldn't make anything work. All of his run-bys failed. That move out that he wanted to go for was not the right choice. He lost his Infestors early on to the Phoenixes. And Swagger really, really impressed me in that game.
Yeah, stepping it up here quite a bit. He already played well against Junie, but now he's up against Leenock, and that's a completely different caliber of player. But he's up 1-0.
This is not normal what we see from Kill. We usually see timing attacks, a very aggressive play, but you already said we talked about Junie. He played pretty straight up there, and now he's playing straight up again. He totally demolished Leenock's playstyle.
Yeah. He really had a good look at those DreamHack games and at Leenock's style in general. And Leenock is looking at this game and was like, well, that didn't work out. Losing the Infestors early on, as you already pointed out, was of course quite a big problem. But now we're heading into Atlas, our second map, and Leenock has to be very careful here. He was the huge favorite coming into this series, but now is down 1 game. Can he turn things around? Will we get a 3rd game, or will Swagger his way into the 3rd round of Code A? We're going to find out right now at the GSL Code A. Swagger, aka Killer, up against Leenock. Game number 2 coming up on Atlas. Colin Wolf.